I'm Sandy Leier, and I'm the winemaker for Sandhill Wines. We are in the Similkameen Valley today at the Vineyard, which is one of the Sandhill vineyards. The Similkameen Valley is very south in BC, so it's just west of the South Okanagan Valley. And very similar climate here to South Okanagan, so very hot and dry, semi-desert-like. You can sort of see around us the signs of desert climate with very dry hills and tumbleweed, that kind of thing. We get very, very long days, so a lot of sun exposure, and that means this region is good for late ripening varieties. Vineyard here, we've got a lot of our dark Bordeaux reds. We've got Syrah here. The Sandhill Small Lot 1 comes from this vineyard, so it's a co-fermentation of Cabernet Sauvignon, Cab Franc, and some Merlot. Sometimes a little bit of Syrah in there as well. And also most of the Sandhill reds for the white label come from this vineyard as well. So our Sandhill Syrah comes from here, the Merlot, and Cab Franc as well. There's 14 different licensed grape wineries here in the Similkameen Valley. The first one opening in 1984 was Karamias Vineyards, which now is called St. Laszlo. We don't have any lake in the Similkameen. There's no moderating influence here for weather, so we do get some extremes as far as heat and colds. It's quite good for a natural means of pest control, so we don't have to use a lot of pesticides out here. These vineyards are very sustainable, and there's a lot of certified organic vineyards out this way just because the environment really helps us out with that. Similkameen is the name of the river that flows at the bottom of the valley here, and the name actually is derived from an indigenous word that means treacherous waters. I believe that's because the river is so rocky, and at some parts of the year the water does flow pretty vigorously down the river. A couple years ago, actually, a few winemakers and I decided to have an adventure and float this river, and it was treacherous. I don't think I'll be doing it again anytime soon. So far this vintage, so 2020 started out, we had some good heat units in April, which kicked off the growing season. So we got some nice growth of the vines in April. However, May and June ended up being very wet and cool. So it slowed things down quite a bit. Mid-July, we started to see some really nice heat, and all the way through August, so things started to catch up again. And I thought it was going to be quite a late season to pick this year, but all of a sudden the sugar levels just kind of came on really quickly at the beginning of September. So we've already harvested about half of our whites this year, and the quality is looking really good. I would say the difference between this vintage and last vintage is that we've basically had a little bit longer of a growing season because September's been warm, it's been sunny, it's been dry. The quality is great, especially for the reds. I'm excited for the reds this vintage. With this extended heat into the fall and some dry weather, we're seeing a lot of flavor development come on without having super high sugar levels this year as well. So the whites right now, they look great. We're just about to harvest some of the later ripening whites, which Pinot Blanc is still out there to pick. We've got Viognier that's going to start to come in right away as well, and the flavors are looking good. Working for a larger wine company, we do have a large variety of growing regions. We've got, for Sandhill, we've got our 7 different vineyards that are spread out around the Okanagan Valley and the Similkameen Valley. So we are seeing a little bit of variation in the ripening throughout the valleys this year. This vintage, we do have smaller bunches. We've got smaller berries compared to previous vintages that I've worked. So we're seeing a little more flavor concentration in some parts of the valley. And also down south, we're seeing the acid levels starting to drop out quite a lot. However, up in the north Okanagan, there's a lot more acidity that's hanging on.